Good day, listeners. This is Ryan.
And this is Kyle.
And what you're listening to is
The Doctor's Watcher, the Brotherhood of Logicians podcast about every episode of Doctor Who.
Indeed. And just for you Logic fans, that is a both and, because it is both Kyle and I that are in the Brotherhood of Logicians.
Indeed.
Cool. Well, how logically, how pure is your logic today, Kyle?
I have gone down the path of reason, and I have logically determined that the most rational use of our time in the intersegment today is a What the Far, which, of course, is our segment where I describe a Far Side comic to you, and then I pose a question for discussion. And, of course, you all remember that on this segment, we like the deep cuts, so you're not going to be hearing about any Cow Tools or Midvale School for the Gifted on What the Far.
Nice, yep.
I haven't figured out how to find like the original publication dates of these, but I know that this one for today is from 1992. And this is a panel depicting a conference, and there's a crowd of people milling about. They all kind of have little name tags or whatever on. There's like a punch table with drinks and stuff. There's a big banner over the conference that says National Conference of People Who Follow Paranoiacs. And there are various signs up, presumably of like vendor booths and tables and stuff. So we have a sign for Carl's Camouflage, Acme Big Nose and Glasses, which has like a giant version of the big nose and glasses kind of attached to their sign. Right. Eddie's Binoculars, Henderson's Masks and Things, somebody's Extra Quiet Shoes. So the thing I would like for us to consider and discuss on today's What the Far is why or how did Henderson design his sign to be viewed from this specific angle, partially obscured behind Eddie's sign, but like with all the important parts still showing?
Great question. I think Henderson probably has a marketing person who is very aware of how their signs will be viewed. And they were like, you know what? This sign on its own is going to look really weird, like with some of the words squished all to the right side. But trust me, when you walk into the conference, you're going to understand.
Yeah, like next year when they're printing flyers to like encourage people to come to next year's conference, and they're showing pictures from this year's, you'll be able to read the sign even when it's partially obscured.
Right. Like, remember last year when we were behind that asshole from Acme Big Nose and Glasses? And like his nose, everyone thought it was just Durson's Masks and Things instead of Henderson's Masks and Things. Like, we don't want to be known as the Dursons. They do something totally different.
The Henderson's marketing director should have given a few pointers to Carl's marketing director, because they could have like squished the word camouflage on their sign a little bit so it wouldn't be cut off by the photo.
Right. That was a clear misstep in that marketing department.
Yeah.
I think Carl's Camouflage is probably going to suffer for that, but Actually, maybe they might not, because no one will be able to find them to apply the suffering.
That's true.
Well, that's pretty fun. You know, what the far side, I think, is a lot more surreal than people give it credit for. Like, sometimes I wonder about what, like this one, you know, there's probably, I don't know, 50 different little people that were drawn in this conference. Like, it's quite a busy conference.
Mm-hmm.
There's ladies and men all whatever milling about and stuff. And I wonder if he was thinking to himself, like, this is not going to be one of the Sunday strips, because there's no way in hell I'm coloring all of those people.
Yeah, totally. As I'm looking at it, my eyes keep getting drawn to this person in like the bottom right corner who's got big bug eyes. And I'm wondering if this might actually be a paranoiac who's somehow attending the conference of people who follow paranoiacs.
Right. You'd need at least one, right? So they could all kind of feel comfortable, like hanging out in that area.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he does look pretty paranoid, though. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Well, cool. This has been a very rational and logical and productive What the Far.
Indeed. Good one. Good one.
And,
well,
yeah, what the far are you up to?
Great question. And let me answer that with a question. If we were in the future when the solar system has kind of been partially colonized and more so like invaded for the purposes of mining and such, and you know, you were born out in the asteroid belt, and you were raised in 0 to low G and whatever. You're like a space native,
right?
With your own little ship, like flying around. You know, breaking into derelict ships and stealing their valuable accoutrement. Where would you look first for the juiciest stuff that's easiest to like rip out and bring back to a space station and sell?
I would maybe try to see if there's like, I don't know, a safe in the wall of like the captain's quarters that I can just like cut the safe out and get it back to my ship and then work on trying to open it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Good point. Like, he's definitely got juicy shit in that safe. I was thinking, like, you know, either like the power source, like if there's some kind of futuristic power source, or like some sort of highly complicated futuristic like navigation cube, or, you know, whatever that to that effect.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, the reason I asked this question is because I've been playing Ostronauts, and it's kind of a cozy game. But yeah, basically you're a shipbreaker, similar to the Hardlight Shipbreakers, which I have not played.
Nice. I do enjoy a good shipbreaking game.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Ostronauts has been fun. It's from Kit Fox Games, who, as we know, release Dwarf Fortress as well as Caves of Khud. And yeah, it's nice. Like, it's basically cozy. Like, it's kind of quiet. Like, it's got some kind of spacey music, but like the music doesn't even play all the time, and you're just kind of flying around by yourself unless you hire employees, stealing shit from, you know, wrecked spaceships.
Right on.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That sounds fun.
Yeah. So anyway, I do have a joke to speed us onward toward our rendezvous with the logical tomb of the Cybermen.
Nice.
And this one's even it's kind of thematically on with Doctor Who. So a time traveler goes back to ancient Rome and immediately starts looking for local clothing so they can blend in. They find a tailor shop and say, "Hey, could I get one of those togas, please?" The shopkeep says, "Sure, what size?" They say, "I don't know, let's try an L." The shopkeeper hands them a toga, they try it on, and then they say, "It's a bit tight. Could I try an XL, please?" The shopkeeper says, "What's the fucking point of asking for a smaller one?"
Nice. Well, shall we dock with this derelict wreck of an episode and carve out all the valuable bits?
Indeed. Let's strip it for the copper wiring that it certainly contains.
We have docked with the second episode of season 5, which of course is also the second episode of the Tomb of the Cybermen. And as mentioned in the first episode, we're watching this entire serial live action, recovered from Hong Kong in 1991, available all the way over on YouTube now.
I wonder if we would have heard about that back in 91, when our Doctor Who loving uncle was quite a bit younger and more spry, and probably would have been really excited about something like that.
Probably, yeah. I imagine he would have been.
Yeah. Like, I don't really remember much specifics about what happened in 1991, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we did hear about that.
So did we have a cliffhanger last time?
Yeah. Our curious stars of the show were poking about in a tomb which contains many Cybermen, apparently. But they only managed to find one Cyberman, and it seemed to be set up as a laser weapon dummy of some sort, and the laser fires, and Jamie's adventuring companion was standing in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he gets dummied by the laser.
Indeed. All of the NPC expeditioners are all like pretty upset that another one of their dudes is dead. There was like dude who died trying to open the door, and now this dude. The Doctor is more concerned about what actually happened to kill him, though. Everyone else seems to think that the Cyberman dummy was maybe a real Cyberman and it killed him. It's like, rolled back into the wall after the laser fired. But the Doctor's like, no. If you actually look at his dead body, you don't even need to roll an investigation check to see that he was clearly shot in the back and the Cyberman was in front of him. So he tells Jamie,
duh, you guys.
He tells Jamie to get ready to repeat the sequence that he did on the control panel. Doctor wants to see what happened, basically. He tells everyone in the room that this might be dangerous. So if they want to leave, now's their chance. So Jamie starts walking away, and the Doctor's just like,
"Not you, Jamie."
So Jamie goes and he pushes the buttons and he pulls the levers, and the Cyberman dummy comes out of the wall again, and the big laser device comes out of the back wall, and this time nobody's standing in the way, and the Cyberman dummy's head gets completely blown off,
Oh.
And the doctor's just like, see, this is totally a fake Cyberman, you fucking idiots. And this room is probably like a weapons testing room. And everyone else is like, all right, cool. And they all leave. And Victoria, on her way out, picks up the metallic slug creature that Jamie had found earlier, the inert metal slug. And the doctor's like, oh, that's a cybermat. I'd probably leave it alone if I were you. So she drops it into her handbag and heads off with the doctor.
What did he call it? A cybermat?
Cybermat, yeah.
Huh, interesting. I mean, I do have to admit I've seen some strange things that just sort of reside in purses until suddenly they're found, and it's like, how the hell did that get in there?
Yeah, totally. Everyone goes and gathers back in the main sort of control room, and the expedition leader announces that he's decided that it's time to abandon the expedition and go back to Earth because 2 dudes have died. And the lady captain and the guy that I was thinking is her husband, I guess his name is Klieg. They're both really upset at the idea of abandoning this expedition that they're basically financing. But the expedition leader insists. He really thinks that, like, it's time to cut their losses, those losses being 2 human beings. But it turns out there's actually a problem with the rocket, and so they might not be able to leave.
It's the fuel pumps. Some character has balled up the lot.
What? Or something.
Well, whatever it is, it's practically wrecked our chances of getting off this crummy planet.
Uh-oh.
We pan over to, like, the Cyberman design on the wall, like their emblem or whatever. And the lighting on this design changes, and, like, we kind of crossfade from one cut of this emblem on the wall to a different cut, and we have a passage of time indicated here. And now some of the expeditioners are saying that they don't want to spend the night in the compound. That seems like pretty dangerous and sketchy or risky to them. They would rather go sleep in the rocket, basically. But the rocket, like, captain or engineer or whatever, the guy with the fake American accent is like, no, y'all can fuck off. It's going to, like, take us a while to fix the rocket, like, even without having all you assholes in our way. There's no room for you on the rocket while we're trying to fix it.
Oh, great.
So he won't let them come to the rocket. He also doesn't really trust any of the expeditioners anymore until he figures out who or what broke the shit that he's trying to fix. So since they can't leave the planet, they decide that they might as well just continue the adventure module.
The DM's like, oh, thank God. I'm going to put these 26 names I already invented aside for next time they go off script.
I'll still need to figure out, like, what fucked up their rocket, but that's a problem for later.
Yeah, right.
The doctor does offer to let Jamie and Victoria go back to the TARDIS if they're done playing this adventure, but they both decide to stay. Victoria decides to stay excitedly, and Jamie decides to stay reluctantly. Klieg thinks he's figured out the control panel, so he tries something. He says,
6, cup, B4, if and only if, C, is cap function of 2A.
And as he says this, he like pulls some levers and pushes some buttons and shit, and nothing happens.
Come on, Klieg, you don't got this.
He just assumes that like maybe he pushed a button incorrectly or whatever. So he goes to try again, but while he's not looking, the doctor kind of subtly pushes a button or two. And then as Klieg is repeating his sequence, he realizes it's 2F, not 2A. And then the big hatch that they've been wanting to open opens. They start getting ready to head down into like the guts of the Cyberman tomb or city or whatever in the mountain. It's going to be cold down there though, so they all get warm jackets. And of course, when I say they all, what I mean is the men, because the women have to stay behind in the control room because it's going to be too dangerous for them, of course.
Lame.
Kaftan wants her servant dude, Toberman, to stay up with her and Victoria. And the doctor's like, if he's going to stay up, then I am too. And Kaftan's like, okay, I was being selfish. He should go down with you all where he can be useful to you all. And Victoria really wants to go down. But the doctor kind of takes her aside and he's like, look, I know that this seems like 1960s TV sexism, but actually, I want you to like spy on Kaftan for us. And so Victoria's like, all right, fine, whatever. And the men all go down the hatch. As Klieg approaches the hatch, he kind of like confirms with Kaftan that she knows what to do. And she's just like, yep, the hatch. And once they're all down, she asks Victoria if she's hungry, which she is, but Victoria very quickly loses her appetite when Kaftan hands her like a food cube. She's just like, what the fuck is this? And Kaftan's like, it's chicken, just like you asked for.
Nice.
Down inside the hatch, it is indeed very cold, as they expected, even with their anoraks on. But what they find down in there are like the actual tombs of the Cybermen.
Tombs? I don't see any tombs.
There, JB. Frozen forever. All their evil locked away with them. And so it must remain.
Something tells me that's not going to happen.
They're looking at this sort of big honeycomb array of chambers kind of all stacked up. Kind of like you might picture in, you know, your classic like TV show morgue, all these doors, you know, with like chambers that can roll out or whatever. Only they're much bigger than like the morgue doors. And you know, it's all basically covered in permafrost. In fact, they need to work quickly to like do their investigations and figure out, you know, everything they want to study in the tomb because it's so cold. Even with their jackets on, like they need to be quick. But Klieg is like,
unless we find some way to warm things up.
Back up in the control room, Kaftan is commenting on how Victoria has barely touched her coffee. But Victoria says that she's feeling much warmer now and very sleepy. And then she basically passes out. It seems pretty much like she got drugged.
Oh. No wonder Klieg was acting so oddly.
Mm-hmm.
Or his Kaftan, I mean.
And yeah, like clearly did not want the doctor around for whatever she's going to be doing.
Right.
And of course...
Does consent mean nothing to this person?
Uh-huh. As soon as Victoria is out, Captain heads over to the control panel and pulls a lever, and the hatch closes.
The humanoid mind is inquisitive. We knew that somebody like you would listen to our podcast one day. Now you belong to us. You shall be like us. You shall leave 5-star ratings and reviews on the podcast platform of your choice, and you shall tell your friends about the pod. And now, back to the show.
Everyone down inside, hears it close, and they mostly all start freaking out about being trapped down there now, except for the Doctor and Klieg. The Doctor, of course, is just trying to be chill about being in a probably deadly situation. But Klieg legitimately seems unconcerned.
You're forgetting your logic. If it closes, it can be opened from here.
That's not logical.
But yeah, that doesn't follow. If it was closed from there, maybe you could surmise that it could be opened from there. But even that's not guaranteed.
Right.
But
most
it was
likely.
Yeah. But it wasn't even closed from down there. It was closed from up. Outside of what the fuck, dude?
Now I see why the DM is giving his players, skill checks instead of actual problems to figure out.
But Klieg's at a control panel, and he's like, I'll just operate the opening device. And the Doctor's like, yeah, if that is the opening device. And Klieg's like,
it's obviously an opening device of some kind, Doctor.
And he starts pulling levers. Of course, the hatch doesn't open, but we do see that the big array of tombs starts defrosting.
Oh, great.
It becomes clear that the whole area seems to be warming up, and everyone's watching the array of tombs as they defrost, and they can start to see movement in the chambers. Each chamber clearly contains a humanoid creature of some sort. And one of the other expeditioners is like, what the fuck? And goes and pulls a lever. And then the presumably Cybermen inside the chambers all start moving slower. And the permafrost starts reforming on the chambers. But then Klieg is like, fuck off, and just fucking shoots the dude and then pulls the lever again.
Oh, snap.
Uh-huh. And yeah, expedition leader comes over. He's like, dude, what the fuck? You just killed a dude. But the tombs are defrosting again. And now they can actually see the Cybermen kind of starting to paw at the membranes that are sealing them inside these chambers.
Oh, crap.
Back up top, Victoria is waking up from her nap. It seems that whatever was presumably used to drug her was pretty short-term effect. And so she's waking up. She doesn't notice that her handbag on the floor is kind of wiggling and kind of beeping. But she does notice that the hatch is closed. And Captain's like, yep, I closed it, and I will open it when I'm good and ready to open it. Victoria goes to open it herself, but Captain pulls a gun on her, and so Victoria stops. She's pretty obviously upset at Captain for having closed it, but she's also a little bit confused.
But why? Why have you done it? You've trapped your friends down there as well as mine.
I shall open it when Mr. Klieg has completed our plans. Meanwhile, it is better that they remain undisturbed. If you touch those controls, I shall have to kill you.
Dang.
But neither of them have noticed that the cybermat in Victoria's bag has, like, apparently chewed a hole through the corner of her bag and is now just, like, free on the floor of the room.
Nice.
Uh-huh. Down inside the hatch area, Jamie and the doctor have figured out that Klieg knew exactly what he was doing. Like, none of this came as a surprise to him. And he doesn't even try to deny it. It turns out that he is a logician himself.
On Earth, the Brotherhood of Logicians is the greatest man-intelligence ever assembled. But that's not enough by itself. We need power. Power to put our ability into action. The Cybermen have this power. I have come here to find it and use it.
So that was your motive in financing my expedition?
Precisely. Your complete lack of administration made it ideal for our purpose.
Ouch.
Uh-huh. So, yeah, he apparently thinks that the Cybermen will be happy to help him and to help the Brotherhood of Logicians because he will have been their resurrector, basically.
Well, we have already established that this guy is shit at logic, which is probably why he's made such dumb conclusions.
Yeah, I don't really know why the Brotherhood sent him, unless they're just like trying to get rid of him, maybe.
Right, yeah. Like, let's get Klieg killed. How do we do that? So annoying.
The expedition leader directs everyone's attention back at the array of tombs where the Cybermen have actually started, like, piercing the membranes. Basically, like, each tomb is sealed with, like, industrial strength saran wrap, but the Cybermen inside those chambers are, like, pushing their hands through the saran wrap and, like, you know, pulling open holes in it, and they're climbing out, and they're climbing down the ladders of the tomb array, and some pretty awesome music is playing. It's like lots of drums and horns and, like, just totally, like, 60s action music.
Nice.
Up in the control room, Kaftan is still holding Victoria at gunpoint, and she doesn't believe Victoria when Victoria starts talking about the cybermat that's, like, rolling around the floor of the room. The cybermat is also beeping, so I don't know if Kaftan thinks the beeping was coming from something else or what. It's not, like, mentioned in the dialogue at all.
Huh. I've got this weird ringing in my ear.
Uh-huh. But, you know, Victoria's, like, trying to say there's this fucking thing, and Kaftan's just not hearing it, not believing her, which means that she is completely taken by surprise when the cybermat actually jumps up onto her shoulder. She screams. Victoria grabs it off of her shoulder and throws it. And then Victoria also grabs Kaftan's gun that Kaftan dropped, and she shoots the cybermat, which gives off, like, a small explosion and stops beeping. Kaftan is unconscious for some reason. I don't know if the cybermat, like, bit her or something, or if she just, like, fainted from shock. I don't know. But for whatever reason, she's unconscious now. Victoria starts looking at the control panel, but she's flustered and confused and has not taken any classes on symbolic logic, so she has no idea how to open the hatch. So she rushes off, calling for Captain Hopper. I think maybe that's the name of the fake American accent guy who's fixing the rocket. Not sure.
Okay.
But she's calling for Captain Hopper. She just leaves the gun like sitting on the steps to the hatch, which seems like a pretty bad idea.
Right. Usually not the best to leave weapons just like laying around.
Yeah, especially like in the room with unconscious enemies.
Right.
Back inside of like the tomb chamber, all of the newly awakened Cybermen are just ignoring all the humans, and they're all gathering at the base of the tomb array. And at the base of the tomb array, there's this big panel with like a cool, Cyberman logo or emblem or whatever on it. And one of the Cybermen opens this big panel, and it turns out that this is also a tomb. I guess it's like special tomb because it's got like actual panel door rather than just saran wrap. And the Cyberman that comes out of it is different than all the rest of the Cybermen. This one doesn't have like the control box or whatever on its chest, and its head unit, all the other Cybermen have like ear pipes kind of coming from their ears up to this thing on top of their head. This Cyberman has no ear pipes, and the top of its head is shaped kind of like a tall mushroom cap, or like a more rounded version of like a conehead head, or basically like the tip of a dick.
Okay, interesting. Sounds like a real dickhead.
What is it? I think it's their leader, their controller, Jamie.
Klieg is like,
I have brought you back to life. We of the Logicians have planned this. You're alive because of us. Now you will help us. We need your power. You need our mass intelligence. Are you listening? Do you understand me?
But the cyber dickhead just kind of like grabs him and like flings him away. And it says in its cool vocoder voice,
"You belong to us. You shall be like us."
And the music plays and the credits roll.
Oh. Well, that's cool. That's a nice continuation. Like I keep getting like the sci-fi horror movie Alien or Aliens. I keep getting kind of vibes from that.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Similar to this, like, going into some ancient, weird, creepy, like place that seems like a tomb, but of course everything in it is going to be, waking up and coming to get you.
Yeah, that seems like kind of a given. Right. I will say there are a lot fewer wet chains than, than there are in the Alien franchise, but
yeah, probably quite a bit fewer than there are in the Hellraiser franchise as well, because like they had a shit ton of wet chains.
But
yeah, no, that's interesting. That like I wonder if they ever like discussed being inspired by Doctor Who vibes.
That would make sense, yeah. Because, yeah, there's definitely kind of a shared mood and shared vibe between them.
Nice.
This sort of, like investigations of creepy ancient spaces.
Right, like people should know by now, there's been enough movies and people should know by now that like when you're doing stuff like that, don't crack eggs or open containers or like push buttons or pull levers or anything like that, because that's how the bad guys are going to get you.
And like, if you're an expedition leader, like you should really try to like keep the financiers of the expedition like under control. Don't let them take it over.
Yeah, really.
And like when your dudes start dying, like, end the expedition.
Right. Again, another kind of similar situation to like what happens in the Alien movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
There's always the funding company and then the guy from the company that's there on the flight going like, but wait, we only lost 5 people. Like, we can find this. We need to find this and bring it home.
It's interesting how like often that's about money and resources, but here it's clearly about power.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if we want to like really get down to it, money and resources and power are kind of just like the same thing.
all kind of the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The whole idea of I'm going to resurrect these, ancient creatures that have been dead or extinct for centuries, apparently, but are like super powerful. And because I am the one who resurrects them, they will then definitely like be cool with me and help me out with my goals, and definitely not use their immense power to like just do whatever the fuck they want.
Right. And, on top of that, of course, they speak English, because what else would they speak?
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's like, dude, if you were being logical, like there's plenty of, like, for example, animals that like parasite type creatures that, eat when they wake up, they like eat the thing they're in. I guess it's not really coming back from the dead, but like, why would that not happen, here?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like as we talk it out, I really think that maybe the Brotherhood of Logicians just all really don't like Klieg and don't think he should be a logician, and so they're just trying to get rid of him. They're like, I bet we could get this fucking asshole killed by some Cybermen.
Right. I agree. That's the only logical conclusion, because otherwise, like, they don't know how to do logic.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and,
awesome.
We know that they are the greatest man intelligence ever assembled, so.
Indeed, but I don't know, a man intelligence? Come on, guys. Like, what is this, the very cool No Girls Allowed club? Right, we know that like whenever men get together to do intelligent shit, like it usually turns out pretty dumb. Like, look at the military,
Yeah.
Look at the government. Look at religion. Like, look at the entire world, and this statement will be proven.
Yeah. Let's maybe like form a sisterhood of logicians.
Right. Or like form a group of logicians who does actual logic.
Right, yeah. A siblinghood of actual logicians.
Right. I guess if they did that, though, then logically they would know that the universe would continue following the course of logic, and there's nothing they would need to do to help that, and there's nothing they could do to hinder it, and so therefore they would just simply kind of keep doing what they were doing before.
Yeah, that's true. And that's probably not a very interesting serial.
Right. But on the other hand, I think that means basically we're all in the siblinghood of actual logicians.
Nice. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Another good episode. Really enjoying season 5 so far. Yeah, I just hope Victoria doesn't keep climbing in horribly dangerous holes anymore.
Yeah, she really went from like, I don't know about adventuring in general, to like, I'm going to climb into this weird hole like pretty quickly. That was
right.
Kind of a big swing.
Right. Look, guys, a hole. God damn it, not again.
So, yeah, I am glad that she's embracing the adventuring, at least.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if she's doing it in possibly not the most considered way.
Right. That's okay. She's still new.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Anything else about this episode that we should know, Kyle?
Nope, I didn't have anything else on this one.
Nice. Well, I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning into this podcast from within whichever holes they might find themselves trapped inside.
Indeed, whether it's a hole you fit in or a hole that's way too big for you.
Right. And, from me to you listeners, I hope that someday you find your hole, the hole for you.
Indeed. Everyone has a hole, and there's a hole for everyone.
Right. Well, I guess that probably almost wraps up this whole episode. But I'd like to thank you, Kyle, with my whole heart for describing this episode for me.
Indeed, and I would like to thank your whole oral system for taking in the audio that I'm putting out describing this episode.
Right. Including the holes that are part of my whole oral system.
Indeed.
Well, listeners, I know the next 2 weeks will seem like a giant void, but after that we will return to make you whole again with Season 5, Episode 3.
Indeed. If you want to learn about how the expedition gets fucked by the Cyberdick, 2 weeks is when you should come back.
Yes. For more discourse on holes and getting fucked by the Cyberdick. And then, of course, there's always the $7 level Patreon, if you really like those kind of topics, listeners.
Indeed, that level is called Holes. That's just the name of the level.
Right. That's all you need to know. Tier. Yep. All right. Well, I guess we should probably let our listeners goon along in peace.
Indeed.
So, all right. Well, I will see you in 2 weeks, Kyle.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.
Feeling that man's planned it all. He knew that control wouldn't open the hatch.
So did I, Jamie.
You knew, Doctor?
I wanted to know what he was up to.
And now you know, Doctor.
We know nothing. This is the action of a lunatic.
Lunatic? Not at all, Professor. A necessary detail, that's all.
But why?
Logic, my dear Professor. Logic and power. On Earth, the Brotherhood of Logicians is the greatest man-intelligence ever assembled. But that's not enough by itself. We need power. Power to put our ability into action. The Cybermen have this power. I have come here to find it and use it.
So that was your motive in financing my expedition?
Precisely. Your complete lack of administration made it ideal for our purpose.
You think the Cybermen will help you?
Of course. I shall be their resurrector.